Oh,
Well, that's fun.
there I am. Okay, and welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. We're having some technical difficulties apparently, so you guys will have to bear with us if you're watching the video cast. If you're listening to the podcast, well, then we just sound like morons. But welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching, and with me, pretty much as always, as long as she is trying to figure out all of the things that go into our video cast, is our marketing director, clearly not a StreamYard employee, and one of our other coaches. And while she's also very, very good at yoga and wine and some other unmentionables, we'll see. Oh, she's got it all back in place, it looks like. Yep. Cool. Hi, Jen. Welcome, Jen Weiboer. She's all those things.
Hello, Adam.
Hello, Jen. It must be cold where you are.
Well, I think the real feel is -2.
Okay, having a rough start to the morning. Your computer, all the things. All right.
It's Monday.
So we've got we've certainly got a unique guest today, which I think is kind of interesting. But aside from her individual uniqueness, I think it's really unique that and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, we've never had an active coaching client on the show before. We've had people that became coaching clients. We've had people that went through our coaching program and then came back to spit some wisdom as far as what they learned and where they're at now and where they came from. But I think this is the first time we've ever had an active coaching client on the show. So welcome to the show, Marty Johnson. Hi, Marty.
Hello.
How are you today?
Great. I'm good. Oh, yeah.
And
I had 2 hours of tennis and ready to go.
Have you had a nap in between?
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, good thing that How I Met Your Mortgage is just a chock full of energy and lightning in a bottle type of shit going on. So we'll jump right to that, and then nobody will have any issues with not having enough sleep or caffeine. And Marty, is it bitter cold in Salt Lake, like apparently it is in Monument, Colorado?
Well, I don't know about bitter cold, but it was pretty cold this morning at 6 when I left the house. So luckily we didn't get a lot of snow last night, but we did have quite a big storm. And then this morning, while I was indoors playing tennis, there was massive rain and hail. But no snow on the ground as far as the streets go. It's just very cold.
And not sub-zero wind chills, apparently. All right.
No wind chill.
We could talk about the weather and burn our entire half hour if we wanted to go that route. But let's talk about some shit that our audience might actually that our audience might actually care about. I'm trying my best to watch my mouth. Those of you that know me well have been consuming my content for any period of time, or our content for any period of time, know that my filter is one of the things that absolutely vanished during the pandemic, along with my waistline. So let's get on with the show, as they say. Marty, give us a little background about you. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Jen and I know a lot about you. And I might even know a little bit more than Jen, because you and I have known each other longer and have experienced some different things together, different cities, different excursions, different conferences, different experiences. But our audience doesn't know shit about Marty. So give us a little background. You're in mortgages. You're currently a wholesale broker.
Yes.
And I'll let you take the floor. Hit us.
Well, it's basically, I've been in mortgages for almost 20 years. Long time, actually, to be in the
started when you were 8. I got it.
Yeah, of course I did. Yes. But before mortgages, I actually was a web developer. So I'm pretty techie for a loan officer. But I do love the interaction and also the problem solving of mortgages. And so that's kind of my experience there. I also do teaching. I teach classes to agents. I do some agent coaching. I'm located in Utah. Utah County, Salt Lake County areas. And so I'm not sure kind of what else you want me to go into. Personally, I'm married. I have 4 children. My husband also has 4, so we have 8 together, kind of the Brady Bunch.
Here's the story of a lovely
Here's the
lady. Got it.
story. Right.
Okay.
We have a couple of dogs, one of which is in my headshot because she's my little office dog. Her name is Lily. This is her. Oh, she's passed out on the chair right here.
Okay.
But she may get up and say hi as we're going through this. And let's see, I don't know what else would you like me to share?
Well, what made you think mortgages was a good idea?
Okay, that's a good question. Actually, I've always been exceedingly good at math. And with my background in web development and design, it comes with a lot of like left and right brained kind of mental activities. I love problem solving and I love people. So typically when you're a programmer, you're kind of not a people person.
That's not a people job. No.
That's not a people job. You sit in a little cubicle for 8 hours a day and you burn your life up, basically. I did that for 10 years. The reason I did it for that long is because I only did it for professional motivational speakers. And so my clients were the best clients in the world. They were always positive and uplifting and wonderful and funny. And so I loved that job. But I did burn out after 10 years and I did miss more people. So a friend of mine, when I was thinking of changing careers, said, Marty, you've always been really great at math. And you're always really great with people. So you should be a loan officer. And I thought, wow, actually, that's probably fits me pretty well. I'm definitely not shy and I love to talk to people and help them with their situations. So it worked really well for me.
Yeah, you are definitely not shy. And we've spent a good amount of time together. And I can honestly say I've never seen you have to take off your shoes and socks to count to 20. So yeah, you are really good at the maths.
At the math.
The maths. Yeah, absolutely. So you've seen some things in the mortgage space. A couple of major cycles, retail and wholesale.
Right.
Being an LO, being a BM.
Right.
That's for those of you that aren't in our direct industry. That's branch manager, not bowel movement.
Not number 2.
Just in case. Yeah, not number 2. Well, I guess it didn't mean Bill Murray either. So I should throw that out there. So you've seen a lot of different aspects of being boots on the ground, direct to consumer type of stuff in the mortgage industry. And I know that this is way out there, but we're not seeing a lot of new LOs come into the space.
Yeah.
It's a small percentage. It's a very high bar. You've got all kinds of prerequisite education and examination and continuing education and on and on. So many prerequisites that I think that there's a major deterrent in there.
Right.
If you were to give advice to people thinking about it, and I'm only saying this because you have a child that has thought about it.
Right.
As it were. What advice would you give to people that are contemplating the mortgage industry?
Well, first of all, I think in the last couple of years, we did have an influx of new loan officers and real estate agents alike.
I'm not talking about the usual highs and lows bullshit where it's easy to do. I'm going to get in and make some money. Right. I'm not talking about 20 and 21 here.
This is not an easy career. So the first thing I'm going to say is you have to set your expectations. The first year that I was in the business, I made, working full time, I made $25,000. And I am like, look, I can test. I'm really smart. I can learn things very quickly, but there are so many moving parts in the mortgage industry and there's so many things that change and so many different guidelines and rules and all of the documents and things that you have to do that I was like, I don't know. I was drowning. I thought I could pick it up in a couple of months and be, easy peasy. I can get, loans and clients. I know a lot of people. But it was really hard. It was very difficult for me. And I was lucky that at the time I had my husband who had also a career. But the first year was rough. It was really rough. And it wasn't even a bad year. It was rates were good, things like that. It was just the rules, the testing, the licensing, the learning. Yeah, it was very difficult. And if anyone is thinking about coming into the mortgage industry, I would say first, you need to understand there's a lot of highs and lows for typical loan officers, especially ones who are new, because you're hyper focused on the one lead that you have, the one golden nugget that's going to turn into, a huge commission. And something happens with that one, and then you have no other leads. And so it could be 4 or 5, 6 months before you close your first loan. So I just want to say, set your expectation. You need to invest in the business. So please don't do this if you're a part-timer. If you want to do it after you drop off your kids at cheer or soccer, or, hey, I can do this, from my backyard. I did that for the first few years, but it's hard. You don't make very much if you're doing it part-time. You have to focus full-time on the business in order to keep generating income.
It's a career, not a job.
It is. It's a career, yes.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
There are a lot of part-timers who are leaving because they haven't focused on the right things in the industry, and they're suffering.
Well, they may already be gone.
Yeah,
we knew at the turn of the year that more than 60% had not renewed their federal mortgage license at the beginning of the year. Okay. And I don't know how things are in Utah versus Colorado this way, but we have a very, very different animal when it comes to the real estate side, because they only have to renew their license every 3 years here.
Right.
So we don't quite know the full impact of what that cycle is going to look like just yet, what 22 and 23 really did to those people. Well, the ones that are still in it, you can tell because they're gray or they're bald or they're wrinkled or they're alcoholics or so we can tell the ones that are still
divorced.
in it. Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you what, you think if you look at past presidents of the United States and you think that job ages them horribly, try getting into this game. So there's certainly some truth to that. But I do think that you really hit the nail on the head with the fact that you have to know what you should be working on.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have to be constant about it.
Very constant.
And I'm not going to lie, because this was 20 years ago now, maybe more. And Jen and I were just talking about my longevity in the mortgage space, which oddly exceeds yours. I might. Well, there aren't a lot of people with an NMLS number lower than mine. Let's put it that way. Right. And it's funny because I misread them. Now I'm seeing like, well, is that 2 million or is that 200,000? What is that number? Reads like an international phone number. Right. So one of the things that I learned, and I wish I could say it was very early on in my career, and in the grand scheme of how long it's been now, it was early on in my career, but not early enough, is exactly what you're describing. I've got this loan. It's going to pay me a nice commission. I'm going to love it and hug it and squeeze it. And I'm actually going to end up squeezing it to death because something's going to happen. I'm not the one causing its death, but something's going to happen. An appraisal issue, an income issue. Somebody gets laid off from work. The house ends up being unlendable. All kinds of different things can happen in the course of a real estate transaction. And everybody in our audience knows this. But I put all my time and energy into this one transaction. Instead of spending the time generating leads, finding more transactions.
Right.
Because really, no matter what I did on that transaction, it wasn't going to close.
Right.
But I burned enough time, enough energy that I missed 10 more that I could have had.
Yeah.
And I've got news for all of you in mortgages and real estate. That's going to happen no matter how long you've been in it, no matter how good you are, no matter how big your volume is. There are going to be transactions that fall out.
Yeah,
that's
for sure.
all that there is to it. And it may not necessarily even be one of those things. They may decide to use a different lender, a different agent, a different insurance person, a different financial planner. All of you that are in these large ticket direct-to-consumer industries, gigs, know that shit happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we've got to keep our eye on the prize, because the bottom line with the job here is that it is to generate leads. It's to find borrowers. It's to find buyers and sellers. It's to find insureds. It's to find people whose financial planning you can handle, whatever the case may be. It's a little different. We've started working with divorce attorneys in our program. it's not too dissimilar when it comes to team structure and business management, and certainly a little different when it comes to lead gen. But don't be fooled, guys. There's a lot of lead gen to be had in that industry as well. But yeah, Marty, you really hit it right on the head there with that misstep that a lot of us make.
It's the number one. Out. Yeah, I think that's the number one problem. And I think realtors also have that as a number one problem, just because everyone's commission based and everyone wants to chase the one that they think is, the one that's going to close. And they don't focus on any others. They don't focus on reaching out to their past client database. They don't focus on reaching out to, friends on Facebook or Instagram who have birthdays. They don't reach out to neighbors and, sphere of influence, people that could refer them business. They just don't, because they're like so focused on this one paycheck, I'm going to score big on this one, so I'm not going to worry about the rest. I'll have time after that one closes, but then one little thing goes wrong. And then you're kind of, having sleepless nights and you're stressed out. And then you have to kind of chase leads with desperation rather than systematically, consistently having leads just roll in.
Oh, well, let's talk about that. Actually, hang on. Let's make sure that our audience knows that you will develop a sense, maybe a sixth sense, as it were, about how that works, right? And I don't know exactly how to describe it other than anecdotal. And we had a referral recently. Let's call it a lead, loose term right now. And these people want to buy a $9 million commercial property, a flower farm, something to that effect. And they want to buy a $3 million home. Like, okay, that's significant. Great. Here, and you guys know, if you're in real estate, mortgages, whatever, there's a lot of documentation that's going to come with a couple of real estate acquisitions like that. So here's what we need, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer Borrower, to get that ball started. Nothing shows up, not a shred of evidence about whether or not they could actually accomplish this. And the real estate agent that referred them says, hey, we're going to go up and look at this property this week. And I'm like, great. When you're done, I'll meet you at the Lamborghini dealer and we can look at some more shit that we can't buy.
Yeah.
So, yes. Yeah. But so you develop a sixth sense about these kinds of things. So neither here nor there. Let's talk about the lead gen stuff, because we've worked a lot on this with you. And you didn't come into our coaching program unseasoned. You've been doing this for a long time. If you didn't have a certain level of knowledge, we never would have agreed to work with you in the first place. Yeah. So you've done a lot of this. What are you doing? Where's it coming from? What are your favorite lead gen techniques and tactics? And even better, tell us what you really loved doing before you started working with Just the Tips. And has it changed? And are you doing things differently? Or are you doing completely different things to have that influx of business coming to you?
Right. Okay. Well, so my favorite, and this is, so my favorite form of lead gen is my past client database and my referral partners. Okay. But you have to understand that you and I knew this coming into before I started coaching. And we went into it in greater depth and in, more minute detail, and it's definitely helped increase that. But my favorite is I'm a little bit of a control freak. I have control issues. So
you do?
I do. Yeah.
That makes you totally different than every other mortgage originator and real estate agent on the planet.
So the least favorite that I have is I don't ever chase realtors. I never do. I just don't. I don't call them once a week. I don't try to market to ones that have closed or listening.
You're not doing all the coffee appointments?
No coffee
You're not calling 40 agents every Monday?
Wasted lunch that I pay for them. Wow. And then they decide to tell me later that they already have a loan officer that's giving them, $1,000 a month in leads or something. And I don't waste my time on letting someone else control my own business, my own leads, my own clients. I don't.
Okay, hang on, because that's a really big deal that we need to hit. You all of you, and Marty knows this, so I'm not telling her, I'm telling the rest of you, never, ever let somebody else doing their lead gen work or not doing their lead gen work impact your business.
Right.
That's a train wreck.
It is.
Okay, go on.
Well, for two reasons. One is they control the leads that you get. So you don't know when or if or even how good the lead is. And number two, it sets a dynamic in your partnership. And I'm going to say partnership loosely because it's really not. It's more like master slave. So what ends up happening is they give me a lead and then they're going to harass me every day for 30 days, even on the weekends and at night, because the lead came from them. So they feel entitled to constant contact and micromanaging, which again, like agents and loan officers who don't master managing their database, the ones that don't master that are the ones that are only focusing on this one thing that's going to close in the next 30 days. And so any little thing
Marty,
that
they
goes wrong,
need that to close so that they can pay their own mortgage.
correct. Yes.
Okay.
So anything that goes wrong, including, I mean, nothing that maybe the loan officer did nothing wrong. The appraisal came back low. The client didn't actually have the money that they said they have, or they got it from cash under their mattress and they can't prove it.
Oh,
or
that never happens.
Never happens, right? Or they're actually an owner in the business that's paying them and they didn't tell you that. These are things
that never happens.
Can just completely derail the train. And not for any faults of the loan officers, but because of the master slave relationship that now you've entered into, the agent is now, this is your fault. You should have caught this in the beginning. You should have known better because I've rested my mortgage payment next month on you. Does that make sense?
Well, first of all, it's a lease payment on a white Mercedes C-Class.
Right.
But yes, it absolutely does ring true. And it's funny because we do a lot of things in our mortgage practice that help, we hope, helps with some of that on both sides. One, we obviously want to eliminate the micromanagement. We want to eliminate the harassment, as you put it. But what we really want to do is inform and educate and help. So first and foremost, all of you, regardless of what side of the road you're on in this game, in this transaction, your job is to be generating leads. Let's never lose sight of that. But we really want to help the people that are doing that. Look, I understand this is an important transaction. You cannot bully your way to a closing. And if you spend your time focusing on what your job actually is, then you never have to worry about it. You'll have closings. You'll have income. You'll be able to make the lease payments on your shitty little white Mercedes C-Class. Okay.
Well, and look, and I just want to say, not every realtor is like that. Okay,
No.
there are some really good realtors who do give you leads and they are really awesome to work with. And I'm not saying that, you know, all of them are like that. I really am.
I'm sure you're talking about Roger. We'll give Roger a nod.
Roger, we're going to give you a nod today.
It's the only one he's getting. So, yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm just saying that that you tend to, as a loan officer, your mental, how you kind of approach that transaction, you actually actively put yourself into that slave position. And it's really not the right mindset that you should have for your business. You should not let someone else's leads control your income. So, you know, there's so many other ways to get business that loan officers and realtors a lot don't do that they really should. And there's a lot of things that they do that they should never do. So it's really kind of figuring out what is that handful of activities that is the highest paying return on investment, ROI. If you don't know that, you shouldn't be in the industry. Then you decide on those and you structure your day and your week and your month and your year, and it flows. There aren't any peaks and valleys. It just continues consistently.
All right. So you've already been through the entirety of the lead gen work that we do in our program. And for those of you that are either new to us or new to the podcast, we really focus on two major categories. One is lead gen and the other is team structure. And one of those lead gen modules that we work on, and obviously Marty's right, we want to make sure that our clients get to a point where their business is strictly repeat and referral, and mostly, if not exclusively, repeat clients and client referrals.
Right.
Again, we don't want anybody reliant on somebody else doing their lead gen work impacting their business. But one of the other modules that we worked on in pretty heavy order was referral partner relationships.
Yes.
And it's funny because when we're talking about the negative side of it, we're talking about a referral partner. And we micromanage, or we have a aura of desperation, whatever the case may be. What we're really missing in there is that it should be a relationship.
Right.
Okay. So we give Roger a nod. Roger's your brother.
Roger is my brother.
There's a relationship there with that. Whether you like it or not, there's a relationship there.
Right.
Okay. But this should obviously expand it beyond that. If you guys are working with referral partner relationships, if you're working with referral partners, you have referral partner relationships, it needs to be a relationship first and foremost.
Yes.
Does it work both ways?
Mm-hmm.
Are you helping them with their lead gen and vice versa?
Mm-hmm.
We talked a lot about event planning. Are you doing that kind of shit with them? And more importantly, there's a whole other tier above all of this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Would you have them in your home for dinner?
Mm-hmm.
Would you take them to I know there is some pro sports in Salt Lake. Come on.
A ball
The
game.
Jazz. I think the Jazz play. Would you take them to a sporting event? Would you go camping with them? Whatever the case may be, it has to be a fucking relationship.
Right.
If you're not getting that, and you are getting somebody referring you business, micromanaging the shit out of you after the fact, those kinds of things, that's not a relationship.
It's a one-way
Well, it's not a
street.
good relationship. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have over the years fired agents, and I've just said, look, I don't think our partnership is working out well, and I think you should find another loan officer to partner with. And I'm not afraid to do that because, look, we spend a lot of time doing our job, right? We spend a lot of time working with clients and with realtors and title companies and escrow agents and underwriters and everybody, right? Like, I really want to pick the people that I want to spend that much time with. And if I just don't like them as a person, which I'm really a likable person, I like a lot of people, but if you are rubbing me wrong, and throwing me under the bus or making misstatements or not explaining things that, makes it more confusing for the borrower, then I may be like, okay, I'm not going to send one of my leads to you in the future because we're kind of it's not working out for me. Okay. And I can find someone that fits better with my personality profile.
That's certainly part of it. And personality is a big part of it. I don't want to downplay that. And probably everybody in our audience knows how to at least read somebody's disc profile, hopefully an Enneagram profile. I'm not as good at that as Jen is. Jen is a killer. She could talk with you for 5 minutes and know exactly where you're going to fall on that scale. But a good example of this, Jen and I had been building a relationship with a local real estate agent, local to us. She seemed like a great lady, incredible personality. We had certainly helped her a bunch with her lead gen work, that kind of thing. She referred a buyer to us, great transaction. And then she literally tried to bully her way to a closing. And we really couldn't understand where did that take such a weird turn. We went and looked, and she had done like 7 deals in the last year. She was relatively desperate to, get a closing under her belt. She had bills to pay of her own. And we basically had to have that very hard talk that, this isn't how it works. And we understand that, after only having closed 7 deals in the last year, that you really needed this deal to close, but you can't bully your way to a closing.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. And she behaved in a really inappropriate manner, grossly unprofessional, and certainly way outside of the bounds of what we had established as what we thought was a real relationship. And we just had to cut it loose. We can't do that. Relationship. That's really the big part of it. No question. Sorry, Jen. You've just been nodding along while we've been telling stories about you, which is certainly not our MO, but we know that all this stuff. All right. So, Marty, just because I've got you here and I can still kind of twist how things are going to go through the remainder of your coaching program. A little.
Yeah.
A little.
Uh,
What's been your favorite thing that we've worked on together so far?
my favorite thing.
Your favorite thing?
Well, I can tell you there's a lot of really good stuff. Let me think. What's my favorite? I actually really enjoy our coaching calls outside of the information that you give to me, just because, it's very direct. It's to the point. It's information that isn't wishy-washy. There's no gray area. It's this. Here is the information. Let me know if you have any questions, and you go through it in very great detail. So, I would say there's so much. Okay, so I'm at the end of my coaching. So everyone knows I've been coaching for 1.5 years. I'm at the very end. I would say the social media part is one of my favorites. Videos, Reels, YouTube channel, those types of things. And then the database management is one of my, and then also we haven't gone into events. We have another one coming up, but just going into more marketing ideas. So there's so many different ways that you can market your business. And there's so many cool things that you learn in coaching with you, Adam, that kind of solidifies the foundation that I work off of. And so, I think as a loan officer, you need to first figure out what are the holes in your boat. Okay. What's going wrong and what's going right, and then figure out what works for you. And you just have given me so much great information.
That theory is fuck up faster.
It is, right?
Let's figure out where the holes are. Let's figure out where your systems are failing, where the gaps are.
And don't be afraid to admit it either. You have to be very clear and open about, what are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? What do you like to do? What do you not like to do? Because really, you could be a loan officer in this business and be extremely busy and not be doing any of the things that I'm doing. But, it may work really well for that person, but it doesn't work well for me. So there's just lots of different ways to be a loan officer and to be successful at it. Also,
very, very true. All right. Just because I want to know, and we'll talk about it later anyway. Jen, what's been your favorite part of working with Marty? Actually, going to Salt Lake.
Go to Utah.
I knew that was coming.
That was easy. The best part was Marty was like, "You are going to go into the mountains, right?" And then I ended up in Idaho because that's
you just have to go. You have to explore in the mountains. It's so beautiful here.
Yeah, hands down. We do a lot virtually, which is great. The technology we have is great, but I always love it when we can actually meet in person with our coaching clients.
Yeah,
so
I did that.
It's Utah.
I did that last week with one of our coaching clients who is kind of relatively local. They're in Colorado, almost far enough away to fly, but not quite. So I signed up for a little bit of a road trip last week, and we went way over the amount of time we would normally spend in that particular coaching session. And I had such a great time with him that, it didn't even bother me that I had 2 hours in the car to do it. So not too bad. Awesome. Although when I said I was doing it, my 9-year-olds, I told them where I was going that day. He said, "Ooh, are you going to fly?" I said, "Oh, I wish." No, although I won't get into the last time I did an in-person coaching session with Marty, and Delta Airlines cost me my live view of the Colorado Avalanche spanking the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup Finals 7-0. I think that game ended. I spent the night at your house over it. Yeah. So we won't get into that. Still a bitter memory.
Sorry.
No, are you kidding? If that's one of the bitter memories in my life, I've lived a pretty great fucking life. So I'm not going to dog it too bad. All right. Well, Marty, thank you for doing this. Jen, get Marty booked for another episode. She'll be done with her coaching. We'll talk about cool shit. And Marty, we love you. Thank you for taking the time out to do this. I know it's going to be a lot of Adam and Jen for you today. So
yes, it is. I know.
Hopefully you can tolerate.
But you guys know how much I love you. So it's always fun. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, our pleasure. And for the rest of you, Jen probably has some serious highlights on what we're up to at Just the Tips these days.
Yeah,
can't
I
even
mean, the
keep
biggest
track.
thing is Social Media Day Denver coming up June 14th. Be on the lookout for early bird tickets very, very soon for that. We partner with Metro State University, so a big shout out and thank you to them for that. That's our one-day conference. It's literally something for everyone. We get asked a lot who the target audience is, and it's literally anyone who wants to learn more about what's going on in social media, which changes every year significantly.
Some of
So
it
if you're
every day.
interested, yeah, if you're interested in speaking, sponsoring, attending, I see Lily's tail over there. Then reach out to me at smdaydenver@gmail.com. And then for all things Just the Tips, our one-day coaching with Adam and Jen. We're headed into the mountains in April to do that one. I'm excited for that. Hopefully there's no blizzards that day, Adam. And if you watch past episode, what's that, Marty?
I'm so sorry. I said I can actually make it to Social Media Day this year. I missed it last year.
Cool. Awesome. It's a fun day. But yeah, if you want to find out more about our coaching program, if you want to book a free hour of coaching with us, get copies of Adam's books, all the things, go to justthetipscoaching.com to find out literally anything you could want to know about Just the Tips coaching.
Cool. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
And for the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. You can catch us live on Mondays at 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And you can catch new episodes of the podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Amazon on Wednesdays. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.